Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg, and this is Drawing with Fountain Pens. I just got back from Baltimore with the Baltimore Pen Show, and before I left, I did a very fast video talking about Lamy's sale to Mitsubishi. And I was very surprised at how many people viewed the video and how many comments I got about it. So over the weekend, there was an article in the Times with the headline, "Intrigue, Ink, and Drama Grip the Fountain Pen Community." I was surprised because I kind of think of myself as a member of the fountain pen community, and I had no idea what they were talking about. I thought that it might be about the sale of Lamy to Mitsubishi, but in fact it was about this supposed controversy around dark lilac ink and how Lamy had reintroduced the ink that had been so popular in a limited edition, but that the new ink wasn't exactly like the old ink. And supposedly this had caused a great deal of consternation among fountain pen enthusiasts. Now, oddly, in the article, I don't think they actually interview anyone who is upset about this, who is one of the people who is supposedly up in arms. Instead, they interview Brian Goulet, who's a nice man, and I love his company, but he sells Lamy ink and really is really on the side of the Lamy company. I mean, he's not somebody who's going to go out of his way to criticize Lamy and their ink sales. And then they also speak to a very popular influencer, Aidan Bernal, who also doesn't seem particularly upset about this ink issue. Weirdly, it's only at the end of the article, in one sentence, that the Times talks about the fact that Lamy has just been sold, and it's a company, after all, that has hundreds of employees, and I think its valuation is well into the 200 million or more. That doesn't get mentioned at all. Instead, there is this issue of whether or not Lamy should have called this new ink by the same name as the old ink. I was at the show, talked to a lot of people, and I don't think anybody I spoke to cared at all about the issue of ink color. There was quite a lot of discussion of the sales, and the good news is everybody that I spoke to had wonderful things to say about Mitsubishi and how they thought that it was probably a good fit. I said in the first video that we're not very good at being able to predict the future. The reason I did the video is not because I'm a businessman and I know about corporations and how they combine, but really just to register my enthusiasm for Lamy and my feeling that they do a really great job. When I was in Baltimore, I stopped by Paul Enro's sales. He's a wonderful expert on fountain pens, but he also is a dealer. And he had actually these pens from Lamy 25s. These are from early 1970s, and they were very inexpensive. And I think at the time they were kind of lesser versions. They were made to be lesser versions of their flagship pen, the Lamy 2000, right? So they relate to it, but they're really nice. They write really well. I think it cost around. He was selling them for two of these for $80. So I was very pleased to get that bargain and to add that to my collection. Here, of course, is the Lamy Safari, the Lamy Studio. Just to get a sense, because some of the people, I got a lot of comments, and some people made remarks about how, well, they thought the Lamy Safari was terribly overpriced. Let me say that, and you can get them for around $20. They probably list more in the $30 range. But there are certain things about it that are so well made. The finish of the pen is just beautiful. And I'm always very appreciative of, for example, the converters and how they perfectly fit into the pen. Now, of course, you have to buy the converter extra, so people won't like that. But they're two little plastic little bumps, and they fit right on the side. And so when you put it in, it just holds the converter perfectly in place. That is something that nobody else, or as far as I know, nobody else does. And it just is an added benefit and helps the pen sort of fit together perfectly. I have in my collection a few copies of Lamy or clone, not real plagiarized pens that are meant to fool you into thinking they're Safaris. And it's just incredible how poorly they're finished, and you can immediately see that they're not put together in the same way with the same tolerance. So there's a kind of integrity and fit to finish, and obviously a long history of design where they're using really great designers to make their pens. And I've reviewed, look at some of my reviews of Jasper Morrison's Aeon pen to get a sense of how Lamy works with designers and makes really, really fine pens that maybe cost a premium in comparison to some other pen companies, but they also don't cost an arm and a leg. They're not trying to do things like Mont Blanc and make pens that are thousands of dollars that aren't really that different from other pens. Their pens actually are different in terms of their design. They really are getting artists or the best industrial designers to make their pens, and they don't charge thousands of dollars for pens that I think really are works of art. I think that's the right word to say, the best kind of industrial design. So that, of course, does cost extra, and I hope that Mitsubishi, which certainly has a long history of making wonderful pencils and all kinds of pens that artists use, I do hope that they respect that history and they want to really support it and expand it. I think that's part of the hope. If the New York Times is watching this, it would be great if they actually did an article about the sale and talked to some of the Lamy executives and the Mitsubishi executives and some of the workers at Lamy. That would be really terrific, and do a real serious article about people who use fountain pens, rather than making the community seem kind of silly and trivial. I'm a great believer that fountain pens are a really wonderful thing because they enable you to write and to write well, and that actually is a very noble thing in a very trying and terrible time.